Victor, who is she? She's my wife. You're the other woman.
Hello, how are you going today? Me? I'm going terrible because someone has put a curse on me. It's the only way to explain why my life is going downhill. Also, do you like Mr. Spider? He's very safe. I used to have a snow globe up here. It was very, very beautiful and very, very fragile because it smashed all over my carpets. Look at that. So now I just need to have something that's not smashable. Anyway, today I will be talking about The Corpse Bride. I will be unnecessarily, thoroughly explaining it to you, telling you every single thing that happens in the movie. 31 Days of October is back. If you look at my calendar, you'll see that it's actually the 10th of October right now. What is The Corpse Bride? The Corpse Bride is a masterpiece. It's a musical, it's a fantasy, it's a twisted love story. There's also some thriller aspects in there as well. It was released in 2005, aka a year that is very near and dear to my heart as I was born in 2005. It was directed by Tim Burton and Mike Johnson. And really, this is all I could find about anything to do with the writers. Okay, now that that's all out of the way, let's just all sit down, relax, and let me tell you about The Corpse Bride. The movie begins with an impeccable soundtrack. This is the evidence of that. And this is where we meet Victor. So Victor opens a notebook. I would describe Victor as a very nervous individual. He's very shy, he stammers over his words, I was possessed. There's hair on my tongue. I told you guys, I've been cursed. Anyways, he stammers and he's very clumsy. There's a photograph on the wall of him and a dog. This is kind of the vibe of Frankenweenie, is it not? So he has a quill and he starts slashing and swirling the quill across the page to reveal a drawing of a butterfly, because that is the butterfly that he is copying. One that's like trapped in a jar. I wonder if a butterfly being trapped is going to be symbolic of anything. I wonder if, that little image that we just saw is going to be a metaphor for somebody. I don't know. Victor lets the butterfly free once he has finished drawing it, and here is where we get to see his world. Now, Victor's world is grey. Everything outside has just been sucked of all life and happiness and anything good. It's just all this blank slate of grey. Like those pants up there. See those grey pants? Yeah, that's like what his world looks like. The butterfly then ventures on a journey out on the town, and we see all the people that inhabit this place, and they are all very grey, very dull. They don't look happy. They're just going through the motions of their very mundane, boring, tedious life. Then we see this vile, disgusting, inhumane, treacherous, idiotic, stupid, imbecilic, hateful, vile, I feel like I already said that word. Just basically the worst person in the world. This is him here. His name is Barkus Bitten, and he is every bit as greedy and just awful as he sounds. I know he's not real, but I'm just saying. If I was to see him, I would crash tackle him into the ground. I can't say that. But just know that, I just wouldn't let him just walk by. This is Nell and this is William, and these are both Victor's parents. They sing this jaunty little tune, and we find out that Victor is to be married, and guess who's in the corner watching them, spying on them like a freak, Barkus. Oh, I swear, if they were that man, I swear. Victor's parents are so excited that he's gonna get married. They're so super excited. They're singing all happily. Now, Victor's mom, she has a little bit of trouble getting inside the carriage. Now, I did not notice this when I was younger, but I'm just going to play this little scene for you, and you're going to tell me what you think it looks like, because I didn't notice this before, but I noticed it now. Those two crabby individuals are Victoria's parents. Who is Victoria? Victoria is the woman that Victor is supposed to marry. Victoria and Victor have the same name. What, their kid's going to be called Victorini? Victoria's parents really are not happy about this wedding. They don't want it to go ahead. It's not the vibe for them. They're looking at this like, we don't want this happening. We don't want this going ahead. But it's going to. It's also important to note that Victor and Victoria, what is between them isn't real. It's arranged. They didn't get any say in this matter. It was their parents doing. Basically, both of the families are trying to use each other. Victoria's family was once very well off. They were once very distinguished, but they have no money. Victor's family, on the other hand, has a lot of money, but they have no status. They're not distinguished, so they're kind of using each other. Victor's family so they can get status, and Victoria's family so they can get money. that make sense? This is Victoria. She is very lovely, she's very quiet, she's very sweet, she's just a very timid little person. As Victoria is getting her corset tightened, she is wondering and really just concerned about the fact that she and Victor might not get along and might not like each other, and her parents come in like raging bulls and are like, why would that matter if you don't even like him? And Victoria's like, well, if you're getting married to someone, like surely you must like them, like don't you and father like each other a little bit? And they're like, no, we don't like each other at all. Victor, on the other hand, is like, wait, shouldn't Victoria be like marrying a lord? And his parents like, we're every bit as good as a lord. Victor's parents enter Victoria's house and meet her parents. Everything is very awkward, and it's very clear that Victoria's parents do not want Victor anywhere near their daughter, but they have no other choice because they have no money left. Victor finds a piano and, just like any piano player, starts playing it. I swear every single person I've ever known who's known how to play a piano, whenever they've seen a piano, they like sit down and start blasting out a tune. It's always that All of Me song. 'Cause all of me loves all. Like it's always that song that they always play. Like without fail, every single time. Victoria, sitting at her little vanity, hears Victor playing the piano and is immediately mesmerized and immediately entranced and immediately goes downstairs to see what he's doing. Victoria says hello to Victor, and Victor is not expecting. I remember he's very shy, he's very awkward. He like stands up abruptly and kicks back the stool he was sitting on, knocks over a vase. He's just very, very clumsy. Poor Victoria, she confesses that she is not even allowed anywhere near a piano because her mother claims it's improper for a young lady to know how to play music. Who comes up with stuff like that? They start talking, well, I should say whispering. They talk so quietly in this movie. You really have to be straining your ears or reading the captions because they talk very quietly. But Victor, he's very nervous. He's just stammering over all of his words. He just doesn't want to be there because he's just a very nervous person. Here we find out that they are to be married the very next day. They have a little bit of a moment. Victoria is all like, I always dreamed my wedding day, I dreamed that I'd be marrying someone that I'm deeply in love with. Victor is like, he stumbles again and he like knocks over the vase, but the flowers come out of the vase and Victoria holds them up and they're very close to each other when all of a sudden Victoria's mom comes rushing into the room and is like, what impropriety is this? Impropriety? I don't know, she says some sort of fancy word. She says that word. She's really mad at them. She's like, you guys should have been at the rehearsal vows already by now. Like, the pastor girls, he's waiting for you. Then there is a title screen that's like 3 hours later indicating that their rehearsal vows took literally 3 hours. They are still practicing because they just can't get the vows right. Victor just can't get it right when all of a sudden the doorbell rings. Who's at the door? The man that we hate. Stupid Barker's Bitten. Like, what kind of name is that? So Barker sits down and Victor returns to his vows, but he is a nervous wreck. He just can't get it right. It's to the point where the pastor literally whacks him in the head with a cane. Like he literally bashes Victor in the head with the cane because he just can't get it right. Then the pastor is like, do you even have the ring? And the Victor's like, yes, I have the ring. But the ring then falls out of his hands and starts rolling across the ground. And the pastor is like, okay, this kid, he doesn't want to be married. Anyway, so the ring is going across the ground and Victor is chasing after it. The ring goes under Victoria's mother's skirt and Victor reaches underneath to get it. In the process, he manages to light her skirt on fire and it's just mayhem. Stupid Lord Barkis saves the day by putting out the fire, and the priest says to Victor, learn your vows. If you don't learn your vows, you're not getting married. So naturally, Victor is under a lot of pressure at the moment because he doesn't know his vows. He really struggles with them. So what is he going to do? He's going to practice them. Victor is just chilling on this random bridge when he utters famous last words of, could this day get any worse? And then all of a sudden, this like newsreader is like, guy failed his wedding vows or something like that. Regardless, Victor then runs into the woods. We're up very close right now. I feel like I'm like right in your face at this very moment. Victor is berating himself a little bit. He's like, it's just a few simple vows. It really shouldn't be that difficult. So then he starts saying them. He's still struggling immensely. He tries to say them. He messes up, but he just keeps persevering. And as he does, he just gets deeper and deeper and deeper into the woods. But then Victor finally, after a very long time, he finally gets the vows right. And he puts the wedding ring onto a branch, like pretending it's a finger. So it's like, with this ring, I ask you to be mine, when all of a sudden wind starts blowing everywhere and the little branch that he put the ring on starts doing that. And then crows, there's like a whole pack of crows in the trees. And if you know, crows are attracted to dead things, which is why I hate seeing crows, because I'm just like, okay, if there's a crow around, that means a dead thing is around. The branch he put the ring on then morphs into an arm. This arm grabs onto his wrist and yanks him down. There's a tussle, and then Victor rips himself backwards, and the arm is attached to his arm. Do you all see? Do you all see what's happening here? Somebody emerges from the ground. This somebody is a corpse. The corpse of Emily. It's here that we meet Emily. I feel like I could have said that a lot simpler, but oh well. This is Emily. She is quite fun, she's quite kind, she's a little bit gullible, and she is definitely very, very confused. You see, because Victor was saying his vows and then he put the ring on a branch, but the branch wasn't just any branch, it was her finger. So it was like he was saying the vows to her. And then she's like, I do, because it's like it's a wedding, even though it's not, even though he was just practicing his vows. Emily's very confused and she starts chasing after him. And Victor then is like slipping on some ice, so he can't run. And Emily is just there. She's just charging down behind him. Crows then start attacking him. Remember the crows from before? He finds himself back on the bridge, and there is this brief moment of stillness before suddenly Emily appears. She places her hand on his chest and is like, you may now kiss the bride. They kiss, and then everything goes black. I kind of want a meteor to just strike down on my room right now. Yeah, that's what I want. Victor finally comes to, he wakes up, and the first thing he sees is Emily and some skeleton guy. Victor is underground and he is surrounded by dead people, skeletons, corpses, and they think that he is going to marry Emily because of that little miscommunication in the woods. Victor then starts bashing his head on the table and he's just like, wake up, wake up, wake up. There is more dead people. There's some dude's head on a platter. A maggot pops out of Emily's eye. He's just like, where am I and what's going on? He thinks this is all just some very bad dream. Spoiler alert, it's not a dream. I actually wanted to talk about something. You know how everyone says you should never end your story with, and then they woke up, or and then I woke up? Well, the first person who ever came up with the idea that everything was just a dream was actually a genius. They were really smart, but because it was so overused, then now everyone hates the idea. And this is the thing, when someone has a really good idea, it's really good, and then everyone uses it, and then it becomes overused, and then it's like, don't do that, it's basic. But like, the first person wasn't basic. That's just annoying. Also, keep in mind, this underground world that he is currently in is so vibrant. It is heavily contrasted with his own world, which is dull and grey and boring, but this world is so bright and colourful, and there's just so much life, despite the fact that they are all dead. There's a jaunty little song. Essentially, we find out that when Emily was alive, she was planning on eloping with someone that she thought that she loved. She had all the family jewels with her. She waited underneath the tree, and he came and he killed her. He killed her, and then she waited under that tree until her one true love would find her. And then, of course, Victor appears, and then Victor put the ring on her finger, so it was like he was her one true love, even though he's not. But that's just so sad. Like, she was murdered. She was murdered. But I'm not going to tell you who her murderer is. Not just yet. But yes, that is why she is called the Corpse Bride. Then it flashes to this scene. Lord Barkis gets that newsreader from before to let everyone know that Victor was seen with a woman on the bridge. It's Emily, of course, and then they ran off together. Victor's parents are like, just give us till dawn and we'll find him, and the Victoria's parents agree, even though they seem a little apprehensive. Back in the underground, Victor tries to run away and Emily is after him. It's a collaborative effort with the maggot and the severed hands helping her find him, and a spider. Eventually, Emily finds him and she makes him sit down next to her on this little park bench. She gives him a wedding present. It's a dog. Very, very cute. Remember at the start, there was that portrait of Victor with the dog? Well, this is his dog. Scraps. This this is his dog. His dog that he had when he was a boy. I'm literally so jealous of him. If I could see my dogs again and they were just like a little bit of a skeleton, I'd be so happy with that. Like, he's so lucky. Victor tries to trick Emily into taking him back upstairs, well, up to where the real life people are, because he's like, so yeah, you should like meet my parents. But they're like alive, they're up there, so like we gotta go up there. Then they meet with this rickety old man. That is him right there. Emily is begging him to let them go up to the land of the living, and he's like, but why would you want to go up there? He is very against the idea. Eventually, the rickety old guy relents. He pulls out this book and he's like, oh yes, this haunting spell will take you back. Then he just gets the crow. The crow lays an egg. He cracks the egg. All this dust goes over them. And then now they are officially in the land of the living. Emily is very, very happy to see the moon because she was trapped underground in all the darkness. Oh look, the butterfly has reappeared. I wonder if that's symbolic. Emily starts dancing very beautifully, but as she's dancing, her leg gets stuck in the ground and then her leg is just detached from her body. Side note, I really would love to dance in the moonlight with somebody. Future me, file that away. Dance in the moonlight with somebody. Victor is then like, Emily, you sit down, stay right here. I'm gonna go get my parents and I'll be right back. No, he's not. Basically, what you need to know is that Victoria's parents are really not happy with Victor. Victor took a really long time away, and basically the maggot that was in Emily's ear is putting thoughts in her head and is like, you know what? I have a bad feeling about Victor. But if you trust him, you should go and find him. Now, Victor was locked out of Victoria's house, obviously. I mean, the parents were just very responsibly locking the door. They didn't know he was there. But then he climbs up into Victoria's room. Victoria and Victor have this really beautiful, heartfelt moment about how, you know, originally at the start they were apprehensive about marriage, but now they're not. When all of a sudden Emily starts climbing up and then she's just on the balcony. Like, look at this. This is kind of terrifying a little bit. Then Emily grabs onto Victor's arm and is looking up Victoria up and down and is like, darling, who is this? Then Victoria is like, who are you? And Emily is like, I'm his wife, and shows the ring. Victor is like, Victoria, you don't understand. She's dead. And Emily does not like hearing this. I forgot to mention that rickety old guy before. When he gave them that potion thing, he was like, if you want to come back, just say hopscotch. So Emily immediately grabs onto Victor and is like, hopscotch. And then away from the land of the living they go and back to the underground arena thing. Then we get the iconic "You're the other woman" scene because Emily is like, you just wanted to go back to that other woman. And then Victor is like, no, you're the other woman. And she's like, no, you're married to me. She's the other woman. It's that very heartfelt scene that is like always on TikTok. And then Victor is like, we can't be together. We're too different. Like, you're literally dead. And then Emily is like, well, you should have thought about that before you asked me to marry you. And then he's all like, it was a mistake. I would never marry you. This cuts into Emily really deeply. Like, this just like shatters her heart. So it's really sad. She like walks away from him. Emily is really sad. So the spider and the maggot try to make her feel better. They're like, you can find any living girl in the entire world. You can't find someone like you. And then they start singing a little song. Despite all this, Emily is still really upset. And she's like, even though I'm dead, my heart still hurts. And even though, you know, I can't feel physical pain, I can feel the emotional pain. She lays down and a tear slides down her cheek. Back at Victoria's house, Victoria's like to her mom, Victor is married to a dead woman. She's like, I gotta help him. And Victoria's mother is like, absolutely not. And then Victoria's mom locks her in the room. But Victoria is not gonna give up that easily because she scales out of her window like the practiced ease of a spy. She then visits this priest guy and she's like, can the living marry the dead? And he's like, what do you mean? And she's like, it's Victor. Victor's married to a corpse bride. And then he's like, okay, I can help you. I know exactly what needs to be done. But instead of helping her, he just takes her back to her parents and is like, she's speaking in tongues, like she's gone mad. So now it's going to be very hard for Victoria to escape because they're putting all bars all over her windows and doors. And basically her parents are like, what are we to do? Shame is going to be brought into our family. And then they're like, wait a minute. No, the wedding is still going to go ahead with or without Victor. Well, the dad's like, with or without Vincent, but, you know, he doesn't really care about his name, but he's talking about Victor. Have you guys seen that movie? It's called Collateral. The dude in there, he's called Vincent. That movie has a very special place in my heart. Then stupid him is there. First of all, how did he get into the house? I don't know. It's so weird, like, he's just a freak. He's all like, if I had your daughter, I would lavish her in riches. And Victoria's mum is like, oh, your lover must be so lucky. And he's like, no, I'm single. Like, years ago, I had someone, but then she was snatched away from me because a tragedy transpired. In Victoria's room, Victoria is trying to bust down her door. She's trying to stab at it with, like, a cane. When her parents walk in, and they announce that she will be married. She'll be married to stupid Barkin, whatever his name is. His name, whatever that dude's name is, the guy that we don't like. She's going to be married to him. His name is like Baskin, Carol Baskin. Do you remember that show? 2020 was such a wild time. It really was. It was literally just such like a weird fever dream. Victoria is like, please no. But her dad is like, we're destitute, alright? We need to marry him. Then Baskin, you know, he's creeping around in the shadows and he looks at a portrait of Victoria and it's like to her, don't worry, my dear, till death do us part, but death will come sooner. Does anyone get the link here? Yeah, is it possible that he was once... No, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that, but just be thinking. Could he have a link to someone in our story? Victor's parents are bumbling along in a carriage when all of a sudden their driver starts coughing. This guy, like here. And yeah, like, he just drops dead. Like, he just dies. So now Victor's parents are just being dragged along by a driverless carriage. Back in the underworld, Scrap drops a pile of flowers and Victor picks it up. Then Emily is playing the piano. And if you remember at the start, Victor, he also played piano, so they have so many things in common. Victor apologizes to her. Then they start playing together. It starts off a little competitive at first, but then it all turns out good-natured. Then her hand gets a little carried away, too carried away that it literally detaches itself from her wrist and starts playing the piano and then crawls all along Victor, and she's like, sorry for my enthusiasm. And you know what he said? He's like, I like your enthusiasm. And then he reattaches her hand to her wrist. How romantic. That's so romantic. Then, like so many dead people, start running into their little piano area. The delivery driver is now part of everyone because, well, he died. He then tells Victor that Victoria is going to be married that very night. Victoria really doesn't want to be married to him. The ceremony begins. Then the rickety old guy appears and he's like to Emily, actually, your marriage is not real because you're married to Victor and it's like till death do us part, but like you're already dead, so like there's only one way to fix this, and that is to just kill Victor. Killing Victor is the only way. And Emily's like, I could never ask him to do that. And then Victor appears because Victor was eavesdropping the entire time, so he walks in and he's like, you don't have to ask me, I'll do it. I did a terrible job of explaining things, so let me just clarify. Victor and Emily need to go up to the land of the living. They need to say their vows in a church, when then Victor will drink the poison and then he'll die and then he can join Emily and be with her in the afterlife. The rickety old guy is like to him, you know, Victor, if you do this, there's no return. And he's like, yeah, I understand. So they're gonna get married, Victor and Emily, and everyone in the underworld is really helping them. Like, everyone is helping him with his suit and helping with the cake. Everyone's just really excited. That is the cake. It's a very big cake. Like, everything is just so bright and lively and happy, which is then greatly contrasted with Baskin and Victoria's wedding and the aftermath of that. Literally, that is the size of their cake. And everything is just so dull and, you know, just boring. Whereas for Victor and Emily, everything was just so incredible. Insufferable Baskin tries to do a speech and he fails miserably. He's just so insufferable. All of a sudden, the fireplace turns green, everything goes green, and like skeletons start descending upon them. It's quite literally pandemonium. That creepy little maggot guy goes up to a person and is like, excuse me, I used to live in your dead mother. Like, why is the maggot so creepy? Then it's really quite funny because Victoria's mom is like to Victoria's dad, are these people from your side of the family? And he's like, no. And he's like, no, if my grandfather was here, he'd be rolling in his grave. And then his grandfather appears. This brings me great amusement. So everyone is terrified except for this one little boy. He walks up to a dead person and is like, Grandpa, and hugs him. And it's this really wholesome, beautiful moment. He, who has been dead for 15 years, reunites with his lover, Natalie Nunn. Am I the only one who just finds this concept so beautiful? I just find this so wholesome. Like, you get to see people who died. It's just like one last time. Yeah. I'd do anything for this. So everyone is united and Baskin is like to Victoria, look, we gotta take the money and we gotta go. And she's like, what money? And he's like, your family fortune. And she's like, oh no, we married you, so I wouldn't be poor. And he's just like horrified, and I just love it. I love the fact that he has been hoodwinked. Victoria just like eats this man up and she walks away. I'm just so proud of her. Also, I forgot to say, the reason why all the land of the dead are like up with the land of the living is because of the wedding. Like Victor and Emily's wedding, because they gotta get like married on land and then go down and like drink the poison. Like, you know, I'm probably not explaining this very well because it's like very late and I apologize, but like, if anyone is still watching this video, comment the maggot, no, there's no maggot, comment the worm emoji. I'm not expecting anyone to get this far into this video, but it's fine. Anyways, so Victor and Emily need to get married in the church, and Victoria basically sees this line of people, so she starts joining the line. Then she starts walking down the aisle, and Victor is at the end of it. Victor says his vows perfectly without fail, and then it's Emily's turn. But as she lifts up her cup to say her vows, she notices Victoria standing in the wings. She can't do it, and when Victor tries to raise the poison to his lips so he can die and join her in the underworld, she stops him. This scene is so sad and so beautiful. She's like, I was a bride, and it was taken from me, and now I'm taking it from someone else because she's looking at Victoria. This is possibly one of my most favorite movie scenes of all time. It's just like so beautiful, and I love Emily so much because it shows a lot of character development. But of course, something has to go wrong and stupid Baskin appears. Like, no one wants to see him. He grabs Victoria really roughly, which is like, ill. Like, let her go, you fool. Then Emily has a realization. She looks at him and is like, you. And he's like, Emily? Because, yes, remember when Emily was killed by her fiancé because he stole all of her money? Yeah, it was Baskin. Baskin was the one doing this. He was the one who killed her. Baskin then takes the sword and holds it up against Victoria's neck. Victor is like, get your hands off of her. And he holds the sword up to Victor, but thankfully, snap, the dog, I can't remember his name because, well, I'm tired, but the dog latches on to Baskin's leg and starts like nibbling on it. Victor fights Baskin with a fork. Yes, a fork. Meanwhile, Baskin has this like giant sword, and Victor like shoves the fork into his bum. It's really funny because Baskin's like, ooh. Victor is almost killed when Emily steps in. She jumps in front of him at the last minute, and she's the one who gets stabbed, so she pulls out the sword, and then she like points it to him. She's like, get out. And then this is where we get that other scene that is always on TikTok. The sound is always on TikTok. It's like, but first, a toast to Emily. Always the bridesmaid and never the bride. Like, even if you've never seen this movie, which like I doubt, you have 100% heard these sounds before if you have TikTok. He's then like, can heart still break after it stop beating? Like, he is just so mean and so evil. So he's toasting and he's drinking the wine. The wine that Victor was supposed to drink. The wine with the poison in it, you know, so then he could join Emily in the underworld. So he dies and justice is served. There's essentially this rule that the dead cannot attack the living, so now that Baskin is dead, guess what? Everyone gangs up on him. And honestly, there is just something so wonderful about this. Like, this is just like justice has been served. Emily and Victor hug each other. Emily is so beautiful and she just like starts walking away. Victor is like, wait, I made a promise to you. And she's like, you kept your promise. You set me free. Emily hands him back the ring. And she's like, now I can do the same for you, you know, like set him free. This is also one of the most beautiful scenes in the entire world. Like, I love it so much. This movie is just so beautiful. It's just, mere words cannot express how beautiful this movie is. She tosses the flowers. The old lady catches them, and that stupid little maggot, he's being seedy. So she tosses the flowers and Victoria catches them. Remember before, when Emily first came out from underneath the ground? She was marveling in the moonlight. Now she stands and she disintegrates into butterflies. And it's such a beautiful scene. And they all fly to the moon. I told you the butterflies were going to be symbolic. And the butterfly in the cage at the start was a symbol for Emily, a metaphor for Emily, whatever. She's finally set free. And it's so beautiful. So that is The Corpse Bride. I personally love this movie. I think it is just so beautiful. It's so heartfelt. I love everything about this movie. I definitely have an unpopular opinion. I don't think that Victor and Emily should be together. I'm really happy that Emily was set free and that Victor ended up with Victoria. I like that, and I don't think that should have changed. I know some people have some contention with it, so if you do and you think that Victor and Emily should have been together, 100% let me know. And that is all I have for you today. I will see you again very soon. I'm really sorry that this 31 Days of Halloween is still continuing, even though it is November, and I did kind of drop the ball a little bit. I really am sorry. I fell off the horse, but I'm going to try to get back on it. Also, if you want to watch my other movies that I've talked about, I will have the playlist linked in the description or linked in the comment section. Without further ado, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Bye, Mouse Pack.